the amendment be agreed to, and I call the honourable member for Goldstein.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. The weighty chains of slavery hunch us all, and that is the basis in which I'm an emphatic supporter of measures to stop the challenges of modern slavery. Freedom and the very foundation of the idea that the individual is sovereign over their own lives, their freedom to pursue their life, their opportunity, their enterprise, is fundamental to the values that those who sit on this side of the chamber hold dear. And some of us will never give up in pursuit of that noble cause and for it to be achieved for all people. That's why modern slavery must be tackled, and that is what this bill seeks to do. And of course, it seeks to do it in a cautious way in the sense that we understand that we cannot always do everything and change every circumstance beyond our borders, but that as a nation we have a responsibility to be able to do what we can do to snuff out the practice and where it has a connection directly to this country. Because what we know, Deputy Speaker, is that modern slavery continues to devastate the lives of millions of people around the globe. The most recent global estimate of the extent of modern slavery was that on any given day around 40 million people were victims of modern slavery, and that's through debt bondage, servitude, forced marriage, forced labour and human trafficking. Each one of those suffocates the life of the people who experience it. It's a sobering human tragedy for so many people being denied fundamental social and economic freedoms to be able to decide their own destiny. And these victims are exploited in a range of different industries and sectors, including agriculture and aquaculture, mining, construction, fashion and electronics. The government has one of the strongest responses to combat human trafficking and slavery around the world, delivered under the National Action Plan to Combat Human Trafficking and Slavery in 2015-2019. And since then, Australia has identified and supported over 375 suspected victims and convicted 21 offenders. Deputy Speaker, modern slavery distorts global markets. It undercuts responsible business practices and poses significant legal and reputational risks, of course, for companies who may be even unwillingly or unintentionally the beneficiaries of its consequences. That's why companies have to be part of tackling this challenge. Voluntary action on these matters should always be encouraged, and I know that many businesses across the world take it upon themselves, without those in this parliament standing up to be able to do what they can do to go through their supply chains to snuff out modern slavery. And when companies provide supply chain reports and details on the source of their goods and labour and services, and then report it through certification standards, it enables consumers to make informed choices. It also, of course, raises awareness and visibility of the challenges faced from modern slavery. And in its consultation paper, the Australian Government proposed to provide clear and detailed guidance and awareness-raising materials for the business community. And that includes providing companies with reporting templates, best practice examples and information about how best the business community can remedy and report instances of modern slavery identified in their supply chains or their operations. Deputy Speaker, we're very mindful of what other countries and other governments are doing in this space. It has helped guide us and inform our approach as a government. And along with the United Kingdom, Australia is supporting a range of measures to combat modern slavery internationally through engagement with regional partners. And this bill fits as part of that important framework. It sits an important part of the framework by having reporting requirements for some businesses large enough to do so. It sends a clear message that this crime is unacceptable in the supply chain of goods and services to the benefit of Australians, and requires annual statements from Australian entities, including corporate Commonwealth entities and Commonwealth companies with annual revenue of $100 million or more, foreign entities with the same annual revenue, and of course the Australian government. And the disclosure process will be fully transparent and publicly accessible. And it fits, as I said, as part of our regional role in combating human trafficking. Deputy Speaker, the only other remark I want to make is why I think it is a sensible and a pragmatic approach that the government is taking not to include a separate commissioner. And the reason is because we actually have a commissioner whose job it is to stand up for the human rights of Australians and also to play a role in terms of our relationship to the world. And it's the Office of Australia's Human Rights Commissioner. I'm obviously familiar with that position, Deputy Speaker, having served previously in it. And the idea that we need to go off and set up another commissioner to do the job of an office that already exists, frankly, seems wasteful. It would be a much more efficient use of public resources. It would put it within the framework of the Australian Human Rights Commission, an organisation that is already tasked and chartered with these objectives, and would actually, frankly, enhance the standing and stature of the Human Rights Commission itself by tackling these issues. I know that there are people on the other side of this chamber, Deputy Speaker, at the moment, who are being snarky at those remarks, and they're free to do so. Because in the end, Deputy Speaker, one of the biggest problems, well, I'm not surprised by the complete indifference to human rights. I mean, Deputy Speaker, you may recall that one of the reasons I was appointed Australia's Human Rights Commissioner was because they didn't appoint one. For years, they left the office open, empty, open, left for somebody to come along and do the job. But then, of course, the coalition government came in, and what did they do? They appointed a Human Rights Commissioner to actually deal with these issues, and yes, I was the beneficiary of it. So the hypocrisy of these people on the other side of the chamber to lecture people about human rights on this side of the chamber when they didn't even fill the office whose job it was to fill it within government shows the blatant hypocrisy and the grandstanding that they engage with. Deputy Speaker, you know that this issue is important to so many people in this parliament. You know that this is an issue that touches all of us because it is one of those cases of there, but by the grace of God, go I. Slavery is a curse and breeds in darkness. Let there be light.